Let's get started, and I want to take a moment to just acknowledge all the countries that we're on. We've got we had over 50 people register, and there's 30 people in here, so we're representing a lot of countries that we're on, and I'm personally on Whadjuk Noongar country, and I'd like to pay my respects to their elders and extend that respect to the elders of the lands in which you guys are on. It feels really special to have so many people across our vast state together. I think it's really special when we do that. And we don't have time for everyone to introduce themselves, but have a look who's there and see if there's any of your peers or anyone you wanted to connect with so that you can go, "Oh, I saw that you're on that chat. Let's start a conversation." So, um, firstly, I'd like to introduce our guest today. We have, well, firstly, joining me, we have Carla Steele, one of our project officers here at Regional Arts WA. Carla looks after our Regional Arts Sector Investment Program and has done many things over the last 10 years that she's been here. Touring, funding, you name it, she probably did it. But the special guests that we have today are Jill Brown, Project Officer at the Department of Local Government, Sports and Cultural Industries, and also her colleague Alison Archer, who is a Senior Project at the department. So thank you for joining us both. There is an apology from Catherine Driver, our General Manager at Regional Arts WA, because she got COVID. Even though she wanted to be here, I said, no, you rest. I can manage this. And also our CEO, Pilar Cassatt, who is got another meeting on, a very important meeting at this session. So you have me. Lucky you. But enough's talking about me. We're here to hear about the department's arts activities in regional communities program, and they're also going to discuss their other funding programs and their new structure. So I am going to hand over to Jill and Alison. Thank you.
Thank you, Gemma. Thanks, Regional Arts WA, and thanks everyone for coming. It's so nice to be here. It's nice for us to be referred to as special guests as well.
Yes, we're very special.
So I was going to talk first, and then I was going to hand the sort of screen over to Alison to talk about our general arts programs as well that have changed their structure. But I just wanted to acknowledge that we're speaking to you from Noongar Whadjuk country, and just wanted to pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. The new young leaders coming through too, and it's really wonderful to be able to gather with people from all around the state to have a chat with you. So thanks for taking time out of your busy days to meet with us. I'm going to put up a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to do that now. So if you don't mind, I'll go through a PowerPoint presentation, just put it together, and then I'll turn it off and we can have a chat with any questions about it. So just share screen, PowerPoint, beginning. Right. Can you all see that?
Yeah, looks good. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I'm just going to talk through a little bit of stuff. Obviously, just acknowledgement, just the fact that culture and the arts is part of the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industry. So there's a whole heap of different divisions that you can see there, and we sort of work in the culture and arts amongst this big department. Also, I just wanted to kind of let you know that we have different teams. We all work together as one team, culture and the arts, but I work on the regional arts team. Specifically, we have the Regional Arts and Cultural Investment Program, which we call RACIP, and the Regional Exhibition Touring Boost Program, which is RETB, because we like to use acronyms. I found out quickly when I joined the department about 2.5 years ago. And these programs are specifically to support the development of arts, culture and creative activity in regional WA. And they're administered through us, in part, and supported by the Department of Primary Industry and Regional Development. So we're just at the beginning of the next 4-year sort of contract of that. So, and hence there's sort of new programs started. So we can sort of talk to you, and what I was going to do today was talk to you about one of them. So through the RACIP and RETB, we have sort of 3 strategic focus areas. We have organisational support, which is like where the RASI, Regional Arts WA RASI sort of program fits within. We have the capacity building, set to capacity building. So we have partnerships with these organisations listed here to support them to develop the capacity of their sector. And then we have project funding. So in particular, we wanted to share with you a new program that's opening on the 19th of December, because we know that it's a funny time of year. So it is opening in the 19th of December, but we wanted to encourage you to start thinking about it now, to start drafting ideas about it now. You can start drafting your questions, and you can send in a draft review request whenever you like. You don't have to wait for the draft review request date, noting that it is sort of over the holiday period that many people take leave. So we just really thought this is a great opportunity to sort of start talking about it now. Okay, so the RASP Arts Activities in Regional Communities grant program supports participation in, access to and creation of arts and culture in regional WA. There's a couple of categories: a creative project category, which is grants of up to 60,000, and the creative and cultural planning grants of up to 50,000. So in general, all of the projects coming through this funding program, the objectives of the program are listed here on this page, which you can see. So it's about increasing access to and participation in arts and culture in regional WA, about providing employment opportunities, skills development and career pathways for regional WA artists and arts workers, about encouraging the development of regional creative and cultural industries, about supporting community-led and activities and creative developments, and projects that are contributing to social inclusion and wellbeing and cohesion and vibrancy in regional WA communities. The creative projects category is a really sort of almost a catch-all category. If you've previously applied to Regional Remote Festivals Fund or to Community Participation and Inclusion, you would now come into this category. It's by being sort of a more all-encompassing program, it's less about us telling you these specific parameters of the projects and what you can apply for. It's really saying this is some funding, you let us know what you need funding for and you can apply within this category. As long as they're aligning with those general objectives that we're talking about in the previous slide about, you know, skills development, employment for regional people and artists, about participation and access, about community-led arts activities and all of those sorts of things, and economic, you know, developing the regional arts sector, then they're all sort of aligning with the general program as a whole. And the creative projects category is about arts and cultural activities and creative developments in regional WA that increase access to and participation in arts and culture, demonstrate their by, with and for regional communities, or responding to the community needs, interests and aspirations, involve highly skilled arts and cultural practitioners, and encourage inclusion and participation of people from diverse communities and identities where appropriate. So, yeah, community art, like workshops, could be a creative development of a new work in any of those art forms that are normally supported through our division. Could be about presenting new works, could be about a festival, activities, anything like that. It's very, very broad. This category is open to regional WA regional local governments and also any WA-based organisations, groups and individuals. If an organisation is not based in regional WA, they would need to really strongly demonstrate, you know, work in collaboration with that regional community. It has to obviously happen in the regional community, but like, you know, regional communities can work in partnership with city-based organisations as long as they're demonstrating that it's coming from the regional community. The other category is more specific. This is for regional local governments, and previously there was a program called Leverage Creative and Cultural Planning. So I won't spend a long time because this is very specifically about regional local governments developing their creative and cultural plans. So it's about, it can include like the community engagement type activities or consultation processes that are about developing creative and cultural plans or revising their plans and all those sorts of things. They do need to align with existing relevant local government strategic community plans, and again need to demonstrate their by, with and for regional communities are responding to those needs, involving arts and cultural practitioners with demonstrated expertise. So, you know, an example of this in this category, it will be about engaging professionals who are experienced in doing those creative community consultations and cultural planning, all of those sorts of things, and encouraging expression and participation by people from diverse backgrounds where appropriate. So as I said, this funding is for regional local governments in WA, and also it can be appropriate for regional local governments to work together, to work with their development commission, or to even, you know, where they're demonstrating that sort of collaboration, consultation with neighbouring local governments, that can be looked upon favourably, because obviously, although there's a local government, people exist within a geographic space, and it can be more relevant depending on the needs of that community to be working in a larger group, and it might overlap different local government areas. So it's really about what works for that particular regional community. So in terms of dates, it's opening on the 19th of December, and this is the standard round, because you'll find Alison's program she's talking about also opens on the 19th of December. The draft reviews close on the 18th of January, and then the application closing date is the 1st of February, which is why we're encouraging people to start working on drafts, you know, as soon as they can, or as soon as, you know, works for them, so they're not, you know, thinking that they, you know, oh no, I have to be around to submit a draft review on the 18th of January. No, if you, depending on what you're doing, you could sort of work on an application, you could submit a draft review in early December if you were ready, for example, and we could get it back to you sort of within the week, and you could work on your application from there. And this is for projects starting from the 1st of May next year. I just thought I'd show you quickly just the guidelines. I don't know why I can't get it to come off my page, but anyway, this is a list of arts activities and regional communities. So when it might not be on the main, when you come to the Culture and the Arts website and you go under Culture and the Arts, the programs are generally listed there under the drop box menu. And I just wanted to point out that there's this page here, which is specifically for the RASIP and RETB programs. There's also information on there about that program. So you can also get to our programs that way. And we have the guidelines of the projects that are the project funding that's open at the moment on here. So this is the, you know, the guidelines page. It's got all of the information that you need about it. Clicking on the guidelines link. And I guess a few things to think about is generally, I think I did talk about how much it was, but like how other funding programs, you can request up to 80% of your total project costs for these. You can just demonstrate your other income as in-kind support. It doesn't have to be a cash contribution. There's a list of what you can't apply for, which is pretty much similar to the general grants programs. There's no surprises in there. The only thing that's a bit different is that you can't purchase capital equipment above 3,000. That's maybe one slight difference, but all the rest is the same if you've applied for any of our Culture and the Arts DLGSC funding. Similarly here, I guess one thing about the RASIP and RETB project funding is that IOIPs can apply, and also, but that no, it's only open for regional activities. So I guess the general programs, everyone in the state, including everyone from Perth, can apply for. It's very competitive, Alison will tell you. Whereas, you know, the programs through RASIP and RETB, it's only for regional activities in regional WA. So it's a lot more targeted, and it's sort of an opportunity. You can apply for that and the general grants program. So it just means there's, you know, it's a good opportunity to apply for you know, a couple of different programs, and it might be that different segments of your project or different stages of your project would be more suitable for different funding programs here. There's one application per round for the arts activities in regional communities, and it has on the guidelines all the core application questions, so you can start drafting your, you know, you can start looking at that. You can call us, you can arrange meetings, online chats, we can arrange phone conversations, anything. We're basically here to help you through the process and really encourage you to call us. And that's why, you know, getting to sort of have a chat with you face to face virtually, at least you sort of recognise, you can sort of, I mean, I know quite a few of the faces already on the chat, but in the team is Jess Anderson and I, in the regional arts team, specifically for the RASIT program, and I know a lot of you would know Jess, so we're very happy to have arranged meetings and phone calls with you to talk through it. So these are the questions, just noting when you are drafting your application that under the main questions there's these helper questions. So basically what we're looking for is what's all the stuff that's underneath the main questions, is sort of trying to nudge you into including that information in your application form. And yeah, all of the information is down here. And just another thing to think about, also just showing you can navigate at the top, there's this quick link. So if you want to look for what the support material is, it will take you straight there. So we do have mandatory support material in our funding, in our grant programs, in the regional arts programs in general. So we're just looking for biographies and profiles of your artists and arts workers. We're looking for confirmation of support. You know, we need to know that the communities and that you're working with evidence, you know, from your partners or your collaborators or the participants that they're keen, you know, on this project as well. For the creative projects category, we ask you to submit artistic support material that's relevant, just as an example of what you're, either something that you've done before or to show what the kind of project is going to be. And for the creative and cultural planning category, you need to include an excerpt of the relevant section of your local government strategic community plan. That's quite a specific category. So for some of you people, yeah, it's not something you need to worry about. We also have in our, and this is across some of our programs now, this form, I might just show you quickly because I've already had lots of questions about it with regard to the regional performing arts, Playing WA, Made in WA, and the Made in WA multi-year that's closing on Thursday. This is really just to show where your, just really your best guess as to what region your money is being spent in. Now, for you guys, if you're in Esperance, you know, and you're doing a project in Esperance, then it's pretty straightforward. Your money, most of your money will be going there. But if it's, you know, where we're working with other organisations, where they're touring or there's Perth-based organisations involved, it's really important to be able to, so we can see where the money's going. So if people are sort of paying a marketing consultant based in Perth, it's just about seeing where that money's going and how much is hitting the regions, and encouraging applicants wherever possible to try and spend their funds in regional WA. Yep. And I guess another change that's also relevant across both programs is just about the support material. If you exceed the limits, because in the past, obviously, some people can be made ineligible for that, but now it's just that beyond certain limits, the panel isn't required to read it, but it won't be made ineligible, which is great. So with our programs, we'll tend to follow up on certain things through the eligibility check process. But yeah, I think I just wanted to sort of show you that so you can, you know that it's all up there and we're ready to have a chat with you about it. Yeah, when it works for you. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Are there any questions that people have about that particular grant program? That's all good. So if you have any questions, you can give us a call.
Sorry, Alan,
His hand up there.
Okay.
Just need to unmute yourself, Alan.
Oh, Alan, you're still muted.
How's that?
Perfect.
Hi, Jill. It's Alan from Northampton.
Alan?
You had a start date. Over what timeline do these funds need to be spent?
They need to be spent within 18 months of the eligible start date. So the start date for these projects is from the 1st of May. And so just within 18 months after that, the 1st of May is when the projects need to be, should be planned to be completed by.
Right. Okay. So 18 months. So, well, okay, that's a fair time. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
thanks.
they might be completed in 6 months. It just depends on the project. Or you might come in for the round, but your project start date isn't actually going to be until, you're not really going to start your project until September, but you've wanted to come in for the funding then. So really, it's from the eligible start date. So it just allows a bit more flexibility for people.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. Cheers.
Thanks.
Jill, there's a couple of... Oh, was that Ainsley? All right, Ainsley, you go, and then there's a couple on the chat.
Thanks. Jill Ainsley from Rave About Arts. You were saying that this replaces the festival funding. How much money is in this pot, and will it have the same competitiveness? So, with the festival, I think it was at 50% rate. So how much money is in there, and what else is it replacing that we're sort of trying to compete for that money for?
There's still all the same amount of money available across the program. So it's just about, instead of having lots of different funding programs, it's about streamlining them so that you can just come in for things that might not necessarily have fitted specific, because with the regional, it had to be specifically, activities, arts activities related to, a festival. But here it could be a bit more just whatever you think you need the funding for, as long as it's arts and cultural activities that generally meet the objectives of the grant program, which is about, access, inclusion, about participation in the arts, about employing regional artists and arts workers, about, developing the regional arts sector and the cultural industries, all those sorts of things. Then it's just more about having a more open and less prescriptive funding program, so you can come to us with what you want to do.
Okay, thank you.
Ainsley, we'll have Alicia, Dominique, and then Sadie next. Alicia, do you want me to say the question, or are you comfortable, or can you?
Yeah, I'm comfortable.
Right.
Something that's previously stopped me from going for the DLGSC, I'm terrible with acronyms, they're like a nightmare to my brain, is accessibility. So will there be an easy read format? Because I know Creative Australia, I think, did a really great one this year. Is there some way that that's going to start happening with these grants?
It's a really good question, Alicia, and, very important. We talk about a lot about that. I guess at this moment, the guidelines are there. We, in terms of making what we have at the moment, because I know things, take. So I've been in the government for 2.5 years, and there's processes in place, and it's different to working in the not-for-profit arts sector. So if you or anyone that needs some support in that sense, we can have phone meetings, we can talk through the questions with you, we can have online chats, we can look at draft reviews, all of those sorts of things. But I think, if you send that, this is recorded, and we make note of that, because it is something that needs to definitely be more, and it's not something that's not discussed, but yes, it's very important that things are accessible, and reading lots of words isn't, everyone's strength, but it doesn't mean they wouldn't do an amazing project, because it's a different skill to write an application. I totally acknowledge that. So Sorry.
I think it's because this is recorded and you can show this, I know a lot of people who have just not even bothered because they've looked at it, and the trying to understand is like, what is this question actually asking? Some other organizations give example grant applications. That is like so helpful for the neurodivergent community. I know that, I think it would be really cool if that was prioritized a little bit more, so that like while all these grants, they're saying, oh, make sure they're accessible and inclusive, it's like the grant application, we can't do it. So how can we make, if you like, a lot of the time you say that you see that people like want, for example, disabled people presenting just things which are inclusive, but if they can't get through this process, and it, while it's nice to say you can call us and all that, not necessarily everyone can do the speaking, the calling. I'm someone who can use my voice, can read, can write, has done uni twice. I'm the lucky one, right? So, I would really love the whole reason I came on this thing is to ask, please. There's so many people who are not in this meeting who really would love this process to actually be accessible, because right now it's not. Yeah.
Well,
please help us. Send the message up the line.
Totally. Like, thanks for asking that.
To people if they need it.
I've made note as well of the example application. I think that's a great idea. Certainly, we've talked about plain language. We've talked about having graphics and videos. And
videos is one of the ones we've been looking at, so that rather than people read the guidelines, they can have somebody just explain the process and explain and talk through the questions as an option. I've been here 3 years, and it's been talked about for the last 3 years as well. So we really try, and we keep pushing it up the line. However,
talk to. Who do I need to sit next to a coffee to make this happen?
I think you need to probably write to your local member.
Yeah,
there's a way that people have, be able to sort of
oil the squeaky wheels.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I would say, with application questions, certainly, and different programs are more competitive. Obviously, like the program Alison manages, there are a lot of applications that come in that. With the questions, I think it's really about just using very straightforward. When you get down to the nuts and bolts of the questions, one's usually about what are you doing? One's about who's doing what. One's about why are you doing it. When you really nut it out, that's kind of essentially, and like if you wanted to, have a chat with me, we go through and I basically tell you it's got all these extra bits, but this is basically just saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Who's doing what? When are you doing it? And that kind of thing. So,
we try and keep the questions really straightforward, and we don't mind if they're a little more open to interpretation, because everyone's project is so different that we don't want to be super prescriptive about how each question has to be answered, because everyone has a different take on how to do that, and it's neither wrong nor right. So one of the reasons why we decided not to put example applications up is because then everyone would write the same application, and it's really constrictive rather than being open.
I think that might be for some people, yes, but maybe for some people it actually is like life-changing. So if we could apply to get one of those, just so we have something to start with, especially if I'm working with people as well. It's not just me. If I'm working with other people and supporting other people to go through these processes as well. But thanks,
Alicia.
Thanks, Alicia.
That's good feedback for Regional Arts WA. And I just want to say, keep asking, because it does have to go through the food line. And, we devolve funding on behalf of the federal and state. And every time you ask, we push it forward. But I reckon we'll take on some pointers there as well. And just because the questions are complex doesn't mean your answers have to be.
For me, sweetheart.
So next we actually have Dominique, who's asked. She's got a question specifically about her organisation, so she'd like to make a time with you, Jill, but also asked when round 2 opens. Dominique, did you want to speak more to your organisational
Yeah.
question, just in case it might be helpful to others?
Yeah, we have the last 2 years been told that we don't fit the criteria closely enough. I'm representing Margaret River Region Open Studios, and we're the largest open studios event in the Southern Hemisphere. Very proud to have 166 artists participate for the last 2 years. So we are a very, very loved event that cannot happen. Actually, we can't continue to do this without government funding. So we were told that because the artists are technically the ones opening their studios, that we don't fit the criteria closely enough. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about, but I'm happy to do that privately. But just for everybody's reference, come to Margaret River Region Open Studios next year. I've got a couple of questions. What is the funding? What is the pool of funds available in round 1? And when does round 2 open? And thirdly, can I please apply for a grant to create a video to help the neurodivergent community with the grant application?
Okay, so the first question, in terms of which, are you talking about the funding round for this particular program? In which case the Arts, Activities and Regional Communities grant will open every year. It won't open at this time of year again because it's at the beginning and it just took a while to get things pushed through approvals, but it will open next year. The plan is for it to open in August next year, and it would be from activities starting from the 1st of January, would be right, wouldn't it? Yes. Yes, because
So
it would close in.
just,
yeah.
So likely just one round a year?
One round a year for arts, activities and regional communities. I mean, Alison's funding opens 3 times a year. She'll talk to you about that because you can apply for both, as long as it's not for the same project, but, you know, or the same activity. Another question was,
how much is the funding pool?
We don't talk about how much the funding pool is, but basically what happens is we, the peer assessors, they're assessed by peers, and I think you're probably all familiar with the process, but if someone wants me to talk more about the peer assessment process, I can do that, maybe put something in chat if you want us to go over that briefly today. So those people are people that work in the sector. For the regional arts funding, we try and get people who are either based in the regions or who have worked, you know, in regional arts, or, you know, done that kind of thing.
I understand that. I was just wondering if there was $1 million available or $400,000 available. That's really what I was wondering about.
Yeah, I can't give you the exact amount today, but basically it's just, you know, they're ordered by the top down, and then there's a cut-off, which, so I guess also having the programs in certain areas, because in the past they're in specific programs, and then it's hard to move money if it's not spent. You know, there's not as much demand in one area, you have to try and get permission to move it, but all the grants will be in this, and then the money will go to where the demand is, I guess, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, in terms of video, we can arrange a chat to talk a bit more about you. And who did you apply through? Was it the general grants program or was it through a RASIT program, Dominique?
Yeah, general grants, yeah. And we have had it previously, but for the last 2 years, they said that they would recommend, whilst they're not saying don't apply, they're just saying that we wouldn't be competitive. So we've had it in the past, but it seems like the criteria may have changed. So if we fit the criteria, that's great.
That would be possibly a meeting with me then. So yeah, please feel free to reach out. We can have a chat.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. We've got a question. We've got Sadie's hand up.
Can you hear? Am I back in?
Yes.
Yes. Hi. Yeah. So my question, I guess, or maybe a request for motivation, I don't know, is, because this grant is open to organisations and individuals, my personal feeling as I sit here is that when you're up against, like, say, someone like Margaret River Open Studios, and their reach is going to be exponentially more than mine as an individual, even though I might do my best to incorporate local community just because of the geography of where I am I always going to be kind of negated because I'm in competition with something that has so much more of a bigger reach in terms of people or other communities, because literally we are so remote, and that kind of is the point of the funding in a way. But yeah, I can't help, because they don't take a long time, these applications, and I can't help but think sometimes you're just on a losing streak as an individual, because it doesn't matter how much you can involve local community. If your local community is limited because of where you are, then that's going to be kind of cast against you, kind of thing, in terms of how relevant or how much an impact your activity or whatever it is that you're doing has. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think we could both speak to that from a few different things you raise there. So
absolutely. And I think on the one hand, we'd really like to reassure everybody that the assessors are very much aware of all those points that you raise, because quite often they are individual practitioners themselves, and some also work for organisations. And so they're very much aware that they don't compare reach with actual physical reach of lots and lots of, open studios against what an individual's reach might be. They assess each application on its own merits and on the best possible reach that that application and project could have.
Yeah.
And because of your concerns, this is why we have also made some major changes to our arts projects funding, which we'll get to shortly.
Which I might be a good point, but in terms of from our point of view, as long as the project is meeting the objectives, aligns with the objectives of the grant program that you're applying for, and you've got to choose the grant program that suits what you're doing the most, or apply for aspects of your project that suits a particular program. Are you, in terms of individuals and organisations, Alison will talk to you about how they've organised that in their team, but from the point of view of RASIP grant programs, I think it's just about the scope of the project. Like you would ask, obviously, a massive project might ask for more money and a small project might ask for less. It depends on the scope, and the reach is about impact and all those sorts of things. It's not, about numbers and people. So there's different ways of measuring reach. So
yeah, it's also about the quality of the reach.
It might be really deep engagement. Yeah,
because I feel like, having applied some other things before, when there's and I wasn't picking on Margaret Open Studios, that was just an example that came to mind. We're kind of all worthy beneficiaries, and that we're all here in terms of our quality and the time we put into it and kind of what we're doing. But there comes a point where what pips who to the post, and I kind of, that was kind of my concern in a way, that when it gets to those points, that's kind of what it comes down to. But I mean, what you've said sort of, that alleviates that concern a little bit. Yeah, it's just weighing up when it's just knowing, because if you have an idea, you can adapt it to a certain extent to be kind of, have different branches which can be more inclusive, or not that you're necessarily being contrived, but if that's what you have to do to get something over the line, then you can kind of do it. I think anyway. Well, that's how living and surviving in regional communities kind of works. But anyway, that's going around in my own point. I think.
Yeah, thanks, Sadie. It's a really good point. Should Alison talk now? I'm just thinking because
if Clancy has a quick question, she has been waiting for a little bit, but I do know we need to hear what Alison has to say. Clancy, you're up.
Yeah, just a quick question. If we've applied for another round of project funding, does that disqualify us for applying for this one? So no, we can still apply.
So, are you applying for the same project?
No,
or a different project? Yeah. So in terms of RASIP funding, you can apply. There's not the limitations in terms of you can apply twice to the arts projects for organisations and individuals and groups in each year. But for RASIP, you can apply for all the different RASIP programs, but they wouldn't all be, but just, once per round for each of them. So you could apply for the arts projects funding and also for, arts activities in regional communities as well. Something that has been asked on the phone this morning or yesterday, I think it was can you apply for the same project? Because we'll wait for Alison to talk about it because, yeah. And you might ask it too, but we can raise it. So are there any other, does that answer your question, Clancy?
Yeah, so it's a different project, so we should be fine. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And always we encourage you to just call before you start your application and check. If you always just, you know, just pick up the phone and give us a call or send an email to ask. Yeah.
Well, should we bring up that?
Yeah.
PowerPoint?
Okay. So I might just okay.
Right. So can we all see the PowerPoint again?
No, I can't see it.
Okay. So I didn't work. Hang on a sec. Let me give it another go. Sorry.
The screen. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't press that bit.
How's that?
Perfect.
Did that work?
Yeah.
Okay. So as some of you are probably aware, we've had some major changes to our general arts funding. So our much beloved arts under 15,000 no longer exists, and nor does our arts over 15,000. So they were the arts U15K and 15K plus grants. They also had their close relative grants, the Contemporary Music Fund under 15,000 and the Contemporary Music Fund over 15,000 grants. So all 4 of those grants no longer exist, and they've been replaced with the 4 that you can now see on your screen. So we've pretty much rolled the arts under 15 and over 15 into these 2 new programs, the arts projects for individuals and groups and the arts projects for organisations. So in both of these grants, you can apply for between 5,000 and 80,000, and they're open 3 times a year. Now, we were also very much aware that one of the great things about the under 15,000 quick turnaround grants for both the arts and the Contemporary Music Fund was that quick response to these unexpected opportunities. And so that's where the Arts Short Notice Activity Program and the Contemporary Music Fund Short Notice Activity Program step in. So it's the Arts SNAP and the CMF SNAP. And they are basically there so that if you have this amazing opportunity to exhibit somewhere, to go to a workshop somewhere, to present somewhere at short notice, we can fund that. And so there's a 28-day turnaround. So it's probably one of the quickest turnarounds in Australia for funding. And for the arts, you can apply for 5,000 up to 10,000, and CMF it's up to 5,000 and up to 15,000. But we can have a bit more of a look at those in more detail as we go through. This one?
Yep.
Okay. Aha, here we go. So arts projects for individuals and groups. It has the same 3 categories as the Arts 15K plus. So you'll have the creative development, what we used to call the commercial development has just been renamed Arts and Creative Business Development. And we have Aboriginal arts. We've increased the cap from 60,000 up to 80,000. It's open 3 times a year. The questions are exactly the same as the Arts 15K plus, which were the same as the under 15, so you won't find any major surprises there. As Jill referred to just earlier, one of the changes we have made is to support material. They're all good changes, so don't stress about them. They're just a bit more streamlined. We've made eligibility a little easier for everybody, and everything is outlined in a lot of detail in the guidelines. So as we always reiterate over and over, please read the guidelines. And if you have any questions at all, we're always on hand to answer via email or phone. Arts projects for organisations. Again, we've got those 3 categories: creative development, the commercial development, now called Arts and Creative Business Development category, and Aboriginal arts. Now we've got this new category, which is annual program of activity. This is so that if you're a small company and you want to do an annual range of activities, you can apply for an annual grant. And this is the only grant where we can actually contribute towards your staffing and overhead costs. Same funding range from 5,000 to 80,000. These are all opening at the same time as Jill's RACIP grant, 19th of December. The other thing for regional applicants is that we give you priority for draft reviews. And so you just need to let us know by the 18th of January if you would like a draft review. Okay, short notice activity programs. These have been really popular and we've been able to send people overseas and around Australia regionally and interstate to take up some really exciting last minute opportunities, whether it's you're in a band and you've been invited to support a major band on a tour, or whether you're an artist and you've had a last minute invitation to exhibit. What we don't fund is creative development because we want all of those projects to come through our arts projects grants. So the arts projects for individuals or groups and the arts projects for organisations. The guidelines are really thorough, so I won't spend too much time on the short notice activity programs. But again, please feel very free to reach out and chat to any of my team. And even Jill's across quite a lot of these and she'll pick up the phone for us as well. Okay, these are pretty much across both the RACIP and the General Arts grants. Again, it's so important to read those guidelines and contact us with any questions. In addition to the program guidelines, there's also a link to another document called the application manual, and that'll just have some additional information to help you understand like how to upload information, a bit more about the assessment process. You will have to register in the online grants web portal if you haven't had an application with us before. And we encourage you to do that first because it can take a couple of days to get that organised for you. Each grant application has 4 really important components. The application questions, and they will be different between our different programs. But again, we try and make them pretty simple and straightforward. As you're writing your answer, just keep referring back to the question and ask yourself, am I actually answering the question or have I got a bit off track and because I'm so excited about my project and I want to put in all this fabulous information, but I'm actually no longer answering the question. Project targets is the next section. It's also referred to as project outputs, and this is basically just to give us a bit of an overview of the numbers, how many people are involved, how many tickets you might sell. It's just so that we can gather data, basically. Then you've got your financial information. This is your budget, and your budgets may differ from one grant to another. For example, our arts projects for individuals and groups and our arts projects for organisation grants, you need to supply at least 20% income, and that can be from other sources or in kind. Whereas our short notice grants, the Arts SNAP and the CMF SNAP, will fund up to 100% of your costs, because we understand if you get a short notice Invitation, you're not going to have time to try and come up with 20% funding from other sources or in kind, and you just want money for your accommodation and your flight, a bit of stipend. And most importantly, your support material, because this is where we can really see the quality of your project, support from your peers and people in the industry. We can see that you've got quotes for your major costs. We can see examples of your previous work, and we can see your bio and CV for yourself and your key personnel. So support material is something to look at early on and start gathering all of that information while you're actually writing your grant application.
These are on here, and I don't know how much you want to go through this now.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much time we've got left.
So it depends whether we want to have questions or want us to go through this, and perhaps we check with Gemma and the group. Gemma, would you like us to?
Oh, sorry, you go, Jill. I think I know what you're going to ask, though. Would we go through the criteria or get to some questions?
Correct.
I think it's up to these guys. I feel like criteria is something that you can sit down and read and also discuss with either one of you guys. There might be some specific questions. Are you guys, everyone nod in consensus if we're happy to go with some questions, or shake if you rather talk more deeply about the criteria? Let me see what's going on here. There's a lot of... I'm going to take Ainsley's very
nodding and shaking.
Yeah. Well, let's go with some questions, and Jill and Alison are always available in the near future to chat with you guys.
That's some information. So we're basically, Jill.Brown, you'll get, and DLGSC, you'll get there. So I'm going to escape out of this and unshare my screen, and then stop sharing. Okay.
Right.
Is that all?
Yeah, there's a few questions in there. Some seemed quite straightforward questions. Some seem to be answered by the peers, which is great, but let's just make sure that's the right answer. We've got here applying as individuals for regional arts projects. How do you decide which grant to apply, RACIP versus general arts? And now Dominique has answered that to say, let's check if this is right, Dominique, that general arts funding is open to the whole of WA, while RACIP is regional WA. Correct. And asking if there's a budget template.
On the OGMS, on the online grants portal, there's a budget within the application form that you fill out.
Yeah, we don't have one externally available. You actually have to do it in the portal in the application.
Although if you wanted to just mess around and do your draft,
you can't get in there until the round opens.
Yeah, when the round opens, but you can just export it and, yeah. So if you need some help with that, that's fine. You can get access, but when you actually put your application in, you put it in the portal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of which one to apply for, I think always call and check with us. So first, obviously, do your research, have a look at what's available, have a look at the guidelines, like Ellie said, and then it might be that, something aligns more strongly with one of the programs. Also, you can, like for this coming round, you could hedge your bets and you could put an application in to both rounds, but you'd have to, and for the same project, but you wouldn't be able to be supported for both. So you might say they're both, whichever one goes to the assessment panel first, if you were successful, then you'd have to withdraw the other application. However, you'd need to be prepared to put in the work. You know what I mean, on an application, it takes a long time to put an application together. So you think, maybe I'll just wait until the next round.
Better to do one application well than do two in a hurry.
Yeah. You could also say, as long as they were different, there might be a project that has a couple of different stages or elements to it, and you could come into, so there might be something happening in a regional community, which is, about sort of workshops with community and getting artists in to work on creating skills development, all of this, and then later on there's going to be a presentation from that, and you might come to, say, the regional arts funding for the the community workshops, and you might go to the other round for for a presentation or a part of a, you know, a performance or something. It just depends. But again, I think we encourage you to talk through the idea with us, and we'll be able to advise you.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things to remember about the arts projects grants that our team look after is that they must have artists involved that maintain a professional practice. And so we're really looking to support those people and so that those artists can provide really high quality events and experiences for West Australian audiences.
Thanks, Alison. We've got Alicia just gave a suggestion of how a budget template would make it more accessible for people to play around with. And we've also got Ainsley asking, are you reopening the Creativity for Schools program or the Creative Learning Partnership program?
Yes, they will be reopening. I don't know that we have a date yet, and it's my next meeting this afternoon to discuss those dates.
Wonderful. Is there a last question before we wrap up this session?
Sorry, I didn't catch Alison's last name.
Archer.
Archer.
Archer, thank you.
I'm just wondering if we should give you all our contact details. If you need to call, the number is 08 6552 7400, and that comes to the project officers and myself for all the grants queries.
I've also shared your individual emails. Is that okay? And we can send out something after this session as well.
Yeah.
Alison and Jill, anything last to say before we wrap up? I was just going to say, if you haven't, the peer assessment, we look for peer assessors, and if you didn't apply for that process, but you still would like to, you can contact us. Obviously, it's great to we want to have regional artists and arts workers on the peer assessment panel so they can inform the decision making for who gets funded. So I've still got some late applications coming through. So if you're interested in being a regional peer assessor, please email me and I'll send you the application form. It's pretty straightforward. And I guess the other bit of feedback, we've just finished our inaugural arts projects rounds, and we had 3 panels that were peer assessed, and each panel, their feedback was the strength and variety of the regional applications that have been coming through. So well done, you guys in the regions. There's some great applications coming through that are being recommended for support. So, let's keep building on that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Alison and Jill. This is great to have you guys on this casual regional online chat. And also thank you for all those attended, because a lot of you I know, and even those I don't know, a lot of you are volunteer based. So you're taking your time to be here and not getting paid for it. So thank you. And I think it's fantastic that you've finally, you finally met Jill and Alison if you haven't before. So maybe you feel more comfortable reaching out after this session and having a chat. And all your questions is also feedback for Regional Arts WA, which I'll send to the team. So this will be is recorded, and we'll put it on our website. We're planning on doing some more regional online chats in the future, including some different sessions, which, artist practice and project discussions, unpackings. Alicia, I really get your point of a lot of time there's a lot of reading, and sometimes we're expected, even in terms of, new strategies that are out, to be across them. And I think it'd be really great to unpack those and have someone discuss them with us. So I'm definitely on trying to push that through. So thank you, everyone. If you've got any questions, please shoot them through. I can make sure that we get them, or Alison and Jill get them. So wonderful. Great.
Thanks, Gemma.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having us.